everybody. Welcome back to Maine Wedding Buzz. I'm really excited because we're starting up our new shows, and we have a bunch of people that are coming in. I'm very excited to have Mallory Brookes Cash, should I say. She is starting a new venture, which I'm going to let you talk about that in a minute, but I'm really excited to be back on air with everybody and talking about the wedding industry. So let's get started a little bit. Welcome, Mallory.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your journey to Maine.
My journey to Maine really started, obviously, with me being a meteorologist. I had never been to Maine prior, and I wanted to move to a place that had a lot of snow because that's what got me into meteorology in the first place. I was living in Harrisonburg, Virginia, which is the home to James Madison University, and it didn't snow enough for me there. That was my love. That was my passion. I love snow forecasting. I love skiing. I love being a part of it.
She really loves snow.
I do love it. So my best friend at the time was living in Boston and working in Boston, and I was trying to pick out some cities that I would enjoy living in, and I had Hartford and I had Providence and one other city down in the south, which was due to some friends and family being down there. And he said, well, I don't know if you really want to go to Hartford. He said, maybe you should look into Portland. He said, I think that's more you. So I said, okay. And I put Portland on my list of cities that I would go to, and there was an opening, and my first time in Maine was my interview, and that's how I ended up here. I loved it. I fell in love with it. I married a Mainer, and I am here. And
you became a Mainer. So wicked good, right? Is that what they all say? Because we're from away, so we get to say that.
Away.
So how did you get started in your career?
My career really began with my love of snow and meteorology, and I always wanted to understand the science of meteorology, and that's why I ended up going for a degree in it. I'm a Penn State University graduate. I wanted to really know the ins and outs, and it all started with the blizzard of 1996, which you may remember, and I remember growing up in New Jersey.
Oh my God.
It was a big one. We didn't have...
Shut the cities down.
Yeah, we didn't have school for a week and a half. I built tunnels in my yard. It was great. I was in 4th grade. And all of a sudden I thought, why did
I was not in 4th grade.
Yeah, we'll pretend. I wanted to understand how this happened. How was there so much snow? How did this occur? So I ended up really taking that through grade school and into middle and high school. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of the internet and computers back then, so I just watched the Weather Channel all the time. I ended up going to Penn State because I knew that they had a great meteorology program. And so I do have a Bachelor of Science in Meteorology from Penn State University. And I received my first job in Harrisonburg, and then I came here. So my path is a meteorologist.
And the wedding business.
Yes.
So how did that come about?
We, meaning my husband and I, were trying to think of different ideas of where to take precision pinpoint forecasting. I had started delving into doing snowmaking forecasts for ski areas, snow, which I love doing because it really takes your education and brings it down to a pinpoint science, which I don't always get to do on a daily basis as a meteorologist. Usually it's much more broad. So I enjoyed the challenge and the task of taking a pinpoint location and forecasting for a business that's fairly expensive, like making snow. And my husband and I were talking with some friends, where else could we take this? And I will give my husband the credit. He said, well, what about the wedding industry? You are a meteorologist, you were a bride, you obsessed over the weather, and you knew exactly what you're getting yourself into. Think of how many people would want that, and you could just take the worry away from them. And it's personalized and it's customized to them, to their venue, to their time, and whatever they want of me.
To their venue, that is phenomenal. Because a lot of times when we as event planners and caterers, brides, grooms, they'll turn to us, couples, they'll say, hey, how's the weather going to be like? And I'll look at my app, I'll look at my phone. I won't know. I mean, I'm not trained like that. And to have this service is beyond phenomenal. I was talking to a client that I had at the Maine Audubon Society, and I brought your name up, and I said that you were starting this new venture, and she said, oh my God, I wish I would have known it ahead of time. It would have put the ease, because she called me every day about the weather up to the day of the wedding. And thank God it didn't rain, because she wanted to be married outside. And that's the thing, when you're doing a tented wedding and you're outside or there is no tent, that's a big risk that you take. And with that, it's almost like insurance to have you on, not everything is accurate, but my God, I will trust you better than my app.
Right. Well, the big issue with the apps, and so many people have them, and there's so many of them out there, and there are better ones than others. But for the most part, especially those that come out of national weather companies, They are purely unrefined, raw computer data pieces of information. There's most likely not a human interacting with that data.
Oh, wow.
And it's just computer generated from that model. We use a lot of computer models in meteorology. So they might pick this one and say, well, we're going to just give the information from that app. So when you open your app and you get that hour-by-hour forecast, it's completely computer generated. There's most likely not any human interaction with it. And with Maine, there are so many microclimates. You have mountains, you have islands, you have lakes, you have sea breezes, you have pop-up thunderstorms, and all these different things that happen on a localized level that an app really can't pinpoint very well. And that's where someone who knows weather, especially I have lived in Maine for over 6 years, I really know the microclimates pretty well. It gives you exactly that assurance that someone's knowingly looking at something and they understand it, and that comes in really, it comes in handy when there's major weather events like this summer.
Exactly, like this summer with that tornado. And your venue where you got married, Granite Ridge, there was a tornado heading that way. It looked, because we sent you the shot, and it was very scary, and you were in contact with the wedding venue owners, and you were helping them through it because it was scary, and it was really nice to have you almost on call and saying, is it going to hit us, and things like that. So is that sort of where you're going with this whole thing, to have that feel that people have some sense of security a little bit? I mean, as much as you can give.
As much as we can give, and obviously depends on
weather patterns change.
Well, the weather patterns, but also, you know, where pop-up thunderstorms go, how much you want me on site or monitoring. That's up to the couple as well, what they want to bring me there for. So if it's a summer day and they have me monitoring for a certain amount of time, then I am monitoring the forecast, and they will give me a point of contact. Who do you want us to contact should something come about? So I have that person, I monitor. If there's nothing there, you won't hear from me, but I'm looking at it, and there are some storms in the area, then I'll message saying they're about a half hour out, they're moving at X amount of miles per hour, they'll be out by this time. So if you can shift, if you can move in a little faster, or you don't move into the ceremony as quickly, I know that also came up this summer, that things were shifted about 15 minutes to let a shower come through. That's where I'm most useful, because I can really take what's happening right now and apply it to that specific bride and that specific venue.
Who do you do as point of contact? Usually the planner, the caterer, the venue operator, or do you go directly to the bride or the groom?
It's up to the bride. So typically it would be the venue owners or the planner who you want to know first when there might be adverse weather conditions coming. Some brides and couples don't have planners, so it might be a parent, it might be the owner of the venue. It
would take the stress away from the couple, not to have to worry about it, put it on somebody else, and then let them make the call.
It's the peace of mind. It's one less thing to have on your plate.
And it's always good to have a plan A and a plan B, and then this is our plan A with a little bit of B in there too. So always have those two, especially if you're doing a venue that doesn't have an indoor-outdoor space. So, you know, if everything's happening outdoors and it's a tent, you want to have the security, which I think is, I'm your biggest fan. I think it's a support. I love it. How do you think the response has been?
I think the response has been very positive, but also just a lot of intrigue, because there isn't anything else like this out in the market, not only in the Northeast, but around the country, to have someone who's specifically making forecasts for your day. And it is so in tune and customized to you that it's almost having your own personal meteorologist for the day, which is wonderful for brides.
Do you create some sort of sheet, like keepsake, or is it all computerized? How is it all done?
It's done typically via email, or send a PDF, once again, to the point of contact. There's also the possibility down the road, as we continue to build, that some will have a sign-on to the website with a certain login, and that would allow not only the couple and the family to access it, but also guests, especially if they're traveling from out of town. They could have travel forecasts however far and wide that the couple wants to make these forecasts because so many come from away, and you never know what you're going to encounter when you're coming up from mid-Atlantic or Florida or Texas or wherever
That's
people are
interesting.
coming from.
Could they link onto their own wedding website that they create to your website so that they can check through there? Is that something that can be linked? That just popped into my head, so I'm just kind of curious.
I think that could be a possibility. It's a personal URL that could be given to them so they can link to it, or it would just link to my web page and then they put in the sign on and they could go right in. So it's so personalized to each and every bride and couple out there that it's really your own forecasting service.
One of the questions was, peace of mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is. It's peace of mind. And insurance is insurance, but to have the peace of mind is really important. And I think that that's what you're selling is peace of mind. And I think every couple wants that. And they want to feel that somebody else is taking care of it, that they don't have to worry about it. And when you're doing your hair and makeup and all that, you don't want to be looking at the weather forecast.
Exactly.
You want somebody else to handle it, and that's where you come in. Is that where this whole venture is coming from, that you're really almost becoming their day of sort of coordinator for forecasting?
Correct.
I like using that because I think that that's really a very nice thing that you could be, because sometimes I'll go off on this. My head is going a million miles a minute, but you really are taking that couple and just creating sort of their path that they'll know, good or bad, it's going to still be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
But you're doing it. Is that peace of mind where you come in? Is that how you see it?
It's, I was a bride. I was there. And as a bride and meteorologist,
Did you worry?
I worried because we wanted our ceremony and cocktail hour to be outside at Granite Ridge.
But she knew ahead of time.
And I knew, and there was the plan B, and I, like everyone else, went to that some 45-day forecast and knew that there was no way that was going to be accurate. Actually, I think the first one I looked at, it said it was going to rain. And I still freaked out, even in my knowledge and in my background. And then, I pushed it away. I said, Mallory, you have to wait and you have to take a step back. But for those who are not in that realm and that environment all the time, it must be even worse, I would think. So yeah, I step in and I give them the information, and it's the most accurate that I can give. I use not only the computer models and what I have at my disposal that's on the internet and on the web, but I also have the experience of forecasting in Maine for over 6 years and forecasting for the entire Northeast, because I went to school in Pennsylvania, I grew up in New Jersey, and I worked in Virginia. So the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast I have under my belt. And I have over 10 years experience in that, so I know the little nuances, which your app will never get, and the random website will never get, and your 45-day forecast most certainly will not get. So I'm here to give you my expertise, and it's personalized exactly to what you need. And it may not be the perfect forecast that you wanted, but you'll have the information at hand to make the decisions you need to make.
And what about the guests? You talked a little bit about that. So if I have a wedding and my guests are coming in, can you also forecast for the guests that are coming, say, from Virginia, Philadelphia, New Jersey, and they're coming to Maine, and they don't quite know the weather? You know how Maine can get, even in June, sweater weather, you're wearing your sweater because it gets cold. So do you do that as well for them? And
especially in the fall, we have really seen the temperature extremes for
Look at November, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and then we get to frigidness very quickly. So I can do travel forecasts depending on what the couple chooses to add with their package. I can do travel forecasts from up to 4 locations, or even more if they would want. We also do those forecasts around the tides or around the ocean environments, because sometimes you're taking ferries and moving along the waterways, and what days might be better to go out than others depending on what weather systems are going in. So it's really tailored to the specific couple and to their day, what they might need, whether it's mountain-based, whether it's ocean-based, and you might just be on a beautiful farm with a barn. It is really tailored to the bride and personalized for that day, and even for the hours, and your guests, because you could have guests coming in even from overseas. So it's nice to have that peace of mind and that knowledge, because the first thing when you're packing is, well, what's the weather going to be?
Absolutely.
And so that's something I can deliver as well.
What do you think about branching out to other states? Because I think it's a phenomenal idea.
I'm very open to it. I would really like to get my feet wet in the Northeast first, because that's the base that I know. As I mentioned, I've worked in Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah Valley. I grew up in New Jersey, and I went to school in Pennsylvania. Now I live up in Maine. So that whole area I'm very knowledgeable of weather-wise. So beyond Maine, wholeheartedly throughout the Northeast. If someone wanted me to forecast, let's say in the Ohio Valley or in Florida or California, I would most certainly be up for it. I'd have to really start researching the different weather patterns, because there are different nuances out there, especially even in San Diego or Los Angeles, where everyone thinks it's sunny and 70 every day. There are so many forecasting issues that come out of those areas. So I would want to research it and make sure that I knew the forecasts. I'd start watching and monitoring those forecasts ahead of the wedding. So I think eventually we'll branch out.
Little by little, right?
Little by little, kind of taking it as it goes and seeing the response. It's been very positive.
And as far as a new idea, this is pretty new. Across the board, I've asked different people in the industry from one state to another, and they're loving it because it's new, and it's really taking the pressure off of us to constantly have our phone on and going, what does that mean? Because I'm a digital immigrant, so I always go, what does that mean? So.
It does allow, like we've been talking about, not only the couple, but also all of the planners and all of your vendors to have the peace of mind. And like you mentioned, not have another thing to coordinate, because you're already coordinating a lot of different pieces and putting the puzzle together. And the weather can wreak havoc on all of it. So if you have that sent to you at 6 a.m., or whatever time the bride wants or the couple wants, that's up to them as well. When do you want this information? If you have that at 6 a.m. in the morning, then you can start making those plans and utilizing the information so you have the best approach to the day. So Excellent. It is all about having the preparation for it.
And you're marketing this idea not only to clients and to couples, but also caterers, planners, and venues? Are there other people? I know you talked about snow, but I guess this is not just weddings, but you have other sort of kind of packages that you're offering, and there's something with just like the ski resorts that you do stuff with.
So Whitegold Wedding Forecasts is a part of Nor'easter Weather Consulting. Nor'easter Weather Consulting is the parent business. Whitegold Wedding Forecasts is purely for the wedding business, which, yes, we're doing to clients and venues and planners and really whoever would want to utilize it. I think most of the attention has been going to venues and brides themselves. Venues seem to be very interested because they have other things going on at their venues that are weather related aside from weddings, so it's super helpful to them on a lot of different levels. Then we do have the other services, one which is similar, called Event Forecaster, and that's basically any other event besides a wedding. It could be a single event or ongoing events, a series, let's say outdoor concert series, or
like race or things like that.
Right, or cruise ships coming in, things of that nature. There's the Snowmaker, which is snowmaking forecast for ski areas.
Which is her favorite.
I do have a little bit of a favoritism there, which I'm very happy because we'll be getting those up and going soon. We have Weather Academy, which is education-based, learning specifically in meteorology or earth sciences, because sometimes it's left out of the classroom nowadays to really get into weather, and so many people enjoy it. And that could be at the grade school level or university level, and really focusing on women in STEM, because that is huge. Getting gals into science is so important to me as well, because it's the struggle of being a woman in the sciences.
I have a daughter. I get it. Excellent.
Yeah. And then the last one is Preparecast, and that is for either recreational or professional-based preparatory forecasting. So we're talking about hiking, kayaking, heading out, golfing. There are preparatory forecasts, whether you're a golf course and you want to hand that out to your members, or you're heading out hiking for the weekend and you want a specific forecast for the space that you're hiking in, which is kind of similar to the snowmaking, but that pinpoint mountain forecasting. Or for industries like landscaping, plowing, areas in that industry that may need to prepare for the week based on the weather forecast.
That's phenomenal. That really is. Wow. Just a lot you got going on.
Yes, I
do. So any more shows where people can find you, wedding shows? I know that you were just at the Knot event in Portland, and you just were at the Nonantum. So any other shows that are up in the horizon?
I'm looking into potentially the big Portland wedding show, which is in a few months, kind of calming down with a few of the events to really focus in and hone on the marketing and getting into the nitty-gritties of the business and making new templates and getting everything ready for the winter season, because we'll probably have some folks joining on for the Forcasts and the Snowmaker and getting into a few of the other services. But I imagine once the wedding shows start up in
You'll grab them all
the thick of the winter, when we're ready to get out and everyone's going to tell me how much they hate the snow, we'll probably be out again. But I'm always available on my website as well as by phone, and that's where I'm going to focus a lot of my energies in the next month or two, is getting the social up and finishing all the little details on the website so that you have everything that you need right there at your fingertips.
I'm going to go back to one thing that you said, because it just popped into my memory bank. It was the snowstorm when you were in Jersey and you were 4.
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Fourth grade. And I remember being on 73 and everything was frozen. It was a state of emergency and you couldn't go out, you couldn't drive, nothing, because it was a sheet of ice everywhere. And I remember looking at it, looked just... Because you were right, there were no computers and you couldn't access stuff easily, and you were just, everything was shut down, and it was just nobody driving. It looked abandoned. It was just really insane, so it brought back that memory. And
yeah, it was one of those big ones that I think everyone remembers. My mom's a nurse, and even she was told to stay home, and usually they're the last ones to be told.
You couldn't drive, you couldn't go anywhere. It was really scary, but I'm glad that this is here now, because it's really going to take off a lot from our plate to have somebody like you that knows what they're talking about, not just me going, I think it's going to rain tomorrow. No, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear somebody tell me, yes, there is a 90% chance of rain. That's, to me, okay, we're going to do plan B. And then that way everybody knows. And there's no hiccup going on. You're not going in and out.
Exactly,
So
especially
really
with the weather events that have occurred lately. We had the hurricanes that came through late August, early September, and we just had the major wind and rainstorm that came through just before Halloween. So those are the types of things that meteorologists can see a few days out, and we see the nuances, and all of us saw that this was going to be a major wind event well before the public was really starting to realize what we were getting into. And I think especially with the saturated ground and things we don't think about. And that's where I can come in and say, all right, this is really going to be a precarious situation. We should make a plan B. We should figure something out. And that's just the peace of mind. That's what we can offer.
So tell us where people can find you. Website?
The website is weddingforecasts.com. Very easy to remember. And Facebook, that will be coming shortly. I do have my generic meteorologist Mallory Brookes page that you can always find me on and connect with me there.
Awesome, and you do live stream on that, so
correct,
which is really cool.
Yeah, we do live streams, especially on big events and very impactful events that are going to be coming into the Maine, New Hampshire, basically anywhere in northern New England area.
And are you starting an Instagram at all?
I will be starting an Instagram. That's all basically the next 2 weeks. As I said, well, we're winding down with some of the events and some of the shows. Now my focus is really on the digital and getting that powered up, because this has been a quick launch of a business.
And you'll find more of this after the show. It's all going to be up there for you. So I am so grateful that you came on today. And this is a wonderful, wonderful new venture for you. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Fausto.
You got it.